Now look, this is gonna get weird, all right? It's pretty freaky, but it's safe. There's no reason to be scared.
Oh, no, Daddy don't get scared.
Really? Good.
Wanda,
Yes, dear.
are you using your powers to turn on the light?
You couldn't have done that earlier.
I hate you.
I like this.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
I am a god, you foul creature, and I will not be bullied by that. We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Baskin-Robbins always finds out.
I am Iron Man.
I'm Groot.
I am Steve Rogers.
We're all standing up now. Bunch of jackasses standing in a circle.
Because that's what heroes do.
Hello and welcome to Maximum Marvel Drive, a Who Watches podcast about the MCU and the MTU, as I'm calling it. And what would you want to call it, Ryan, at this point?
Yeah, I mean, MCU, I guess. It's still cinematic. Television's not what it used to be.
No.
I don't know.
But I am Travis Fishburne.
I'm Dustin Meadows.
I'm Ryan DeVere.
And this week we will be covering WandaVision Episode 3, Now in Color. Interesting to note that the previous two episodes, when they originally aired, did not have titles, and they gave them titles this past week.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. Well, that's yeah, good point.
So I was wondering if the same would be true with this, if they were like holding on to the titles because they're supposed to be spoilerish until, but no, Now in Color, which indeed it is. Yeah. So we've got, we jump forward into another decade. We've got the 70s and everything feels very Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Not talking about the GOAT, Tom Brady. Talking about the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, I mean, same as last week, talking about how much they update the sets, and yeah, this felt it had the sunken-in living room with the open-backed stairs, and yeah, right at home with Brady Bunch style decor.
Yeah. Along with the swing in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything about it was very of an era, and it felt very familiar.
I was surprised we didn't get a dog. Every family in this era had a dog that was like, oh, Herbie or whatever, but no, nothing this time.
No.
Now, we did get a new version of the theme. We got a new theme song
Yes.
this week, which was fun. And a new intro animatic.
From what I hear, there's actually going to be a new opening theme for every episode.
That's kind of what I figured. After this one, I was like, yeah, there's no way they're not going to update it for every single one, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, they're paying homage very well. Like we've said, like this is very much a love song to classic television.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think they're doing a great job with that. Aside from like a few qualms here or there. Justin, what did you think of the episode as a whole?
I dug it. Like we already said, the style, the set dressing is all like pitch perfect. Like it honestly, it looked like the home from the Brady Bunch set. They did a great job with that, and they're getting really good too. I mean, not that they've been bad at any point, but like each episode, I feel like kind of steps up the quiet like dread that's just like under the surface with whatever's really going on behind the scenes that we haven't been made aware of yet. Like the moment with Herb like cutting into the barrier wall, like just kind of obliviously the confrontation between Wanda and Geraldine. Like it's just all really good, and they do such a great job of building the tension that like I'm. I mean, I know some people are mixers like, oh, when are they going to get to the stuff? It's like sometimes you just got to let something percolate. You got to let it breathe. You got to let it build. And if they continue teasing it out like this and kind of very quietly building those moments up to a big reveal, like I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're doing a great job with this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was very unsettled throughout the entire episode in a way that was not there in the first two.
Yeah.
Especially that Herb cutting into the concrete.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
With hedge cutters.
Which is ridiculous, but it's like, it was so creepy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The fact that he like kept going and he's like, oh, so I am. It didn't seem to like phase him. And you're like, is this a glitch in the Matrix? Like, this is a real person, isn't he? Like,
maybe. Well, and even the moments that are played for comedy, the entire Stork sequence, like it was funny, but it was also low key unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was trying to put my finger on like, does it feel more unsettling because she's pregnant throughout this whole episode? Like there are ramifications to this stuff that we like. My assumption, at least, is she's not probably pregnant in real life, whatever real life is right now. So like, what's actually happening? What are we witnessing here? What does this mean? But yeah, like you're totally right. The Stork thing played like I can't put a finger on why was that eerie. It felt very uncomfortable the whole time.
I think it doesn't hurt. Like storks are like constantly associated with like delivering babies, and there's like this benevolent nature, but like with like the dark circles around their eyes, like they just look threatening.
Yeah.
No, and the fact that it was like a CG stork as well probably didn't help, even though it looked really good.
Yeah, it was. I kept wondering. I was like, is this a trained bird or is this a CG effect? Because like it looked good, like and there were times where I wasn't sure which one it was, but again, that's just testament to the effects company that did it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Ryan, what were your overall thoughts on the episode?
I think they're doing a great, they're pulling from sitcom classics. The first episode, we got kind of the silly misunderstanding. The second episode, we get the keeping up appearances kind of stuff. And then this episode is like the zany take on like giving birth. Is he gonna miss the birth? Is she gonna get to the hospital, whatever. Just good classic try hard like TV tropes. And then we're really starting to hit on some of these what's happening behind the scenes things. And I don't know, like it's weird. I'm really like, the payoff for this show really needs to be good, right? Like everybody's aware that there's more happening behind the scenes, but what even is it? Is that going to be satisfying? And I think that's really what's going to dictate how well this show is remembered. If it's not satisfying at the end of it, then this is just going to be something that kind of fades away as, oh, that's that quirky thing they tried that one time.
Yeah, no, I could see that as being very ambitious of them to try this. And I think it's working really well so far. It is, I mean, really like the creepiest MCU thing I've seen. I think, period. Particularly this episode, I think another thing that makes it so unsettling for me is just the mere fact that it's the 70s. And I think it's the most like unsettling era in like American pop culture of the past century. I think like the stock of film that is used at that time, the costumes, like the whole like colors and decor, just like, I don't know, there's something about it that always kind of gets to me. So
I could definitely see that. Definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to chew on that because I feel the same way, but I don't know. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because I've seen, so many horror movies or things like that set in this kind of period. Yeah, I don't know. There was something in the black and white era. There was something so genuine and like wholesome about that era of television. Even like Honeymooners, it's so terrible in what it is, but it felt genuine.
Yeah.
But this era, yeah, right. There's something kind of dark feeling that looms over it. Even Brady Bunch and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, like the episode opens up with the doctor there. He's checking on things, and he goes ahead and he gives him a little rundown of the sizes of the baby based on fruit, along with a little misogyny when he says, "We let the little ladies keep tabs with fruit. Makes it simpler for them."
Yeah, we've gone this far at least without too much. I mean, obviously, with this era of television that they're dealing with, a lot of like gender roles and things like that, and we've got like Wanda's the stay-at-home wife with Vision going off to work and whatnot. But this was like the first time it was like, oh yeah, that's this era still. We're still a little bit antiquated.
That doctor's going to go to the hospital later and smoke inside.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Now open wide and say ah. Yeah.
So, and then we also get, kind of confirmation that things are kind of happening in real time. You don't get that sense in the previous two episodes because they're both standalone. This one happens right after the transition of the previous episode, and Vision is just as he's like the audience, like what's going on? What do you mean? Like he seems to have all these questions because things are proceeding in a rapid state. They haven't been here for like a day.
Yeah, like even, what is it? I think it's like in the space between the doctor leaving and him turning around, Wanda's pregnancy has progressed even further.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with this pregnancy?
Like there was part of me that like thought for a second, I was like, are we going to get like some chest burster, like Slither stuff? And I was like, I don't think we're going to happen, but if this were like any other sci-fi property, that's exactly what this would be setting up. It's just some terrible alien presence growing at an exponential rate inside of her.
Yeah, like I'm still. There's so many questions about this show. There's so few answers, and like this among many. But like, we could have easily just had like, oh, this takes place over the course of 9 months. This one episode, but no, like very deliberately, like this is happening at an absurd rate.
For sure.
Like she was going to give birth like by Friday or something. Like why? What is I don't understand.
Well, even he did the calculations. Like she was like 4 months pregnant at the beginning of the episode, and it had been like 12 hours or so. And he was doing some calculations, and he said like by Friday, which sounded like a few days away. And I'm like, I don't understand how Vision could be so wrong on math, but this does not seem right.
Yeah.
He's giving himself too much time here.
Yeah, and I think this goes to further reaffirm too, not that like any of us are doubting, like clearly they're being monitored or she's in a dream state or something. Like I think the interesting difference between this and the previous episodes, like Ryan mentioned, and is like the old ones, like I feel like they're comparable to dream states because it's the same with movies and TV. You cut between the interesting stuff, sure, but then like a major event like this, like we experience it in real time because we need to, because it's happening so quickly. And I think that's a real interesting shift that they made. Like everything about the series seems very deliberate, clearly. So it's kind of interesting to see such a deliberate choice. Is like, okay, this episode is going to be our 24 episode, basically centered around the birth of these children.
Yeah, which I mean, that's coming too, because everything about this pregnancy is bizarre. But
so things start going crazy. There's like a lighting fluctuation that freaks them both out, and then the power goes out just in time for Phil to say thank God after his wife asked him a question.
Phil is just going to be the unsung hero.
Again, the dude with the mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just getting him one great line every episode.
That's a good place to be. So far, the most consistent laughs of the series.
And then Vision starts to detect things are wrong, and he like starts to really talk to Wanda about it, like his concerns. And then we just, nope, that's not happening. It gets snapped right back and rewound a few seconds, and then Vision's perfectly fine. So this version of Vision, I don't know, like Wanda seems to, if he's something that she has created, can she control him? Can she like deter him from thinking a certain way? Is he his own person? All these questions, we don't know.
Yeah, that was a real interesting cut too, because like part of me for a second thought that like maybe my internet had skipped, or like, because that's not uncommon that it happens with streaming stuff sometimes, where it'll lag or there'll be latency issues. So like I had to watch it for another 10 seconds. I was like, okay, no, I'm pretty sure that was an intention. It could just as easily have not been, and it was real subtle, but it was really well done.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a question throughout this series is Vision really back? Is this going to end and we still don't have Vision? Because recently it was revealed, I think by Paul Bettany, that there was actually going to be a post-credits scene for Avengers Endgame in which they put Vision's, like, you know, his husk of a corpse. They were like taking it back to S.H.I.E.L.D. because it still exists. And everything in Infinity War was them trying to preserve him without the Mind Stone. And, you know, can Wanda, you know, via that she got her powers from that, can she, you know, and she has so much of him in her anyway, and vice versa, can she, you know, bring him back?
Yeah.
We don't know.
There's a lot of questions that Endgame left. And the only answer we've gotten so far post Endgame stuff is that yes, Tony Stark is definitely dead. And the hole in my heart is, but like they did so much time travel stuff, and they don't even remotely address any of the potential consequences or changes or anything other than Cap decided to live his life and bang Agent Carter and be an old man. That's all we know.
Yeah. I think we'll get some more
like there have to be
answers.
so many other things that have been affected.
Yeah. I think the Loki series will dive more into deep questions about that.
Yeah, and we talked about this before. WandaVision was not meant to be the leading show for Disney Plus. Like the move to Marvel television shows was supposed to be Winter Soldier and Falcon, right?
Yeah. And we were supposed to have a movie.
Yeah.
By this point too, 2 movies, but
Yeah.
And so
we're supposed to have Black Widow and Eternals, which Black Widow is a prequel.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. Like, Black Widow, I have a lot of questions, like why this movie exists and like what's it going to do to like propel things forward. But it has to in some way.
Right. There are questions that will remain, at least for now. But yeah, so like I don't know if we're going to get a lot of, until maybe the finale of this season, I don't think we're going to get a lot of like overarching, like what's going on in the next phase of Marvel. Because I don't think that's what this was made for, or at least not what we've gotten so far.
No, not at all. I think there are like some hints about things that like where it could be leading or what could be going on.
Yeah.
There's some butterfly imagery in this episode, which I think kind of ties it to Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange, like there's been butterfly imagery in both his movie and in Infinity War when he was fighting Thanos.
Yeah.
So those butterflies all come to life, and Wanda's like question, she's like, did I do that? So it makes me wonder if his presence is somewhere in this world already.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good, like, yeah, I mean, 3 episodes in, and this still could be leading basically anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, people can, like, theorize, like, all these little Easter eggs, and it's like, I don't know. Like, this is how I feel. This is how I felt when Lost was airing, and people had theories. I'm like, that's fun, but I don't know. I just enjoy the ride. I'm not going to get hung up on things because you're just going to be disappointed, everybody.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I think it's a fun knot to try and unravel, but
oh yeah,
I'm.
Oh god.
No, it's just there's too much to it so far, and not enough meat to really sink our teeth into before they throw us another curve again.
Yeah, I'm really curious too. Obviously, the commercials probably have a larger significance, and my initial thought was that each one might somehow be tied to one of the Infinity Stones. But I'm having like the watch obviously tied to the Time Stone, and the bath bomb getaway thing maybe tied to like the space or reality, but like I can't figure out,
or even the Mind Stone,
or the Mind Stone. That makes sense. Can't for the life of me figure out what the toaster oven would be, but
it could just be power.
Yeah,
right.
That's true too.
It's the machine.
But that's my current theory is that each of those is somehow tied to one of the Infinity Stones, but there's only 6 of them and we have 9 episodes, so
that's true. I mean, who's to say we're even going to be getting commercials on every one of these episodes?
That's true. Well, we did the math and we figured probably if we're going by decades, realistically there's 6, maybe 7 episodes of tropes to tackle, since decades is definitely the way they're going with it.
Yeah, I've seen, images and clips of what's clearly the 80s and 90s, and I don't know anything beyond that. Like, they could be going off the grid. I don't know.
Yeah, because this is kind of like Mandalorian, where we only saw stuff from probably like the first half of the season.
Yeah.
So, which I think is smart on their part. But yeah, the only other connection I could make was 9 Rings, but is it 9 Rings or is it the 10 Rings? Ryan?
Of the you talking about the Mandarin?
The organization. Yeah, the Mandarin.
Yeah. Oh shoot, you asked me too fast. I think it's the 10 Rings.
Okay,
It's
well,
like-
never mind. That theory's bunk then. For some reason, I thought it was the 9 rings.
Oh my! When you said 9 Rings, I was like, I had just seen Ryan's copy of the Lord of the Rings box.
That's
I'm
right.
like,
That's what I was.
the 9 rings that they gave to the men that turned into the ring wraiths.
Like,
Yeah.
wow, that's a crazy crossover there.
Wow, 9 members
I'd
of the
take-
original Wu-Tang Clan.
We'll get Method Man in episode 8.
I'd be fine with that. I don't think we've gotten a Wu-Tang member in the MCU yet. Somehow.
No,
it
wasn't
depends.
Method Man in
Yeah.
Luke Cage?
He had a cameo. Yeah,
Who did?
Yeah,
Method Man.
Method
did.
Man.
Okay,
So-
that makes sense.
It just
Well,
depends
that's-
on if you count that or not. If you count the Netflix series,
Well, they don't, do they?
not really.
Not really. Yeah,
have they-
Kevin Feige doesn't.
Yeah, they've disavowed that as canon, haven't they?
But then
'cause-
there are some rumors about the next Spider-Man movie, and
Yeah,
Charlie
with-
Cox might show up as Daredevil. We don't know yet. It's yet to be seen.
Yeah, but if you're using the next Spider-Man movie, like anything in that movie seems like that wasn't canon can be canon.
Yeah.
From what we've
Yeah.
heard about all the casting.
Right. Yeah.
You get live action Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker.
Oh, that's my favorite Peter Parker.
Same.
That's my
Same.
Peter Parker.
Big same. It's the most I've related to a Peter Parker.
Oh, I mean, almost any character, period, on film.
I would be fine if we got every single Spider-Verse Spider-Man live action.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Like,
We get
give me Nicolas Cage in the
Nick Cage,
MCU.
yeah.
Chris Pine. Oh,
That's right.
Peter A. Parker.
But then Chris Pine and Jake Johnston are supposed to really look like each other with different hair color.
Yep.
I'd take it. I'd be willing. I'll suspend belief for that at least.
Support it.
Oof.
And
But,
then we have Schreiber
yeah.
does the biggest bulk up to play Kingpin.
I can't even imagine what that would look like.
He gained 500 pounds and just grew out like this.
Can't we put this guy in a suit, guys? No, he's got to
Method.
do it for real.
But
Oh.
yeah, I just trying to go back to the series to WandaVision.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, this is why we need
Yes,
Alex to keep
WandaVision.
us on track. Speaking of Alex,
Let's talk
while he
about-
is not with us,
Yeah.
he is going to still give us his thoughts on the episode, which I think it's probably a good time to play that right now.
So here are some thoughts on
Yeah,
episode 3
drop that
of
beautiful bean
WandaVision.
footage.
I enjoyed the opening credits sequence quite a bit, and I really appreciated the show's, I mean, like the continued redesign of the set that continues to impress week to week. The costumes, the production design, it's so good. And when the show does the things that I praised about the first 2 episodes, I really liked it. I love the Hydra commercial in the middle, and I like the dark moments sprinkled throughout, the weird darkness surrounding the whole pregnancy thing. And I loved it way more when we got to things like the doctor at the end of the episode making remarks that about how it's hard to escape a small town, and the weird, almost Stepford Wives kind of vibe when the neighbors were talking, things like that. And then, of course, at the end of the episode where the veil continues to be pulled back even a little bit more. And then at the end of the episode when the veil continues to be pulled back a little bit more, and Wanda ejects the intruder from her town, which I guess now we know is a real town, that kind of darkness, I'm really responding to that, and I'm really into that. It feels, again, it still feels very Lynchian. It feels partially inspired by Twin Peaks, but I feel like maybe even a little bit more Blue Velvet. and that kind of vibe, and I'm really, really into that. And all of the things I think are interesting about the show are interesting. But my complaint that I had after the initial 2 episodes still stands, which is that I just don't think it's very funny, which is really unfortunate because it seems like there's a lot of stuff hidden in the comedy dialogue, a lot of hints are being dropped, and that kind of stuff. But for me, I just don't think the jokes are that funny. I thought the stork was funny, and I thought the house going haywire was funny, but overall, I just don't laugh very much. And I guess I would like to be laughing along with being intrigued, because at this point it feels like I've sat through, about 75 minutes of television and gotten about 20 minutes of intrigue that I'm really into, and that's kind of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the show continues to do, but I'm getting a little bit impatient now.
Yeah, so there you go. Alex is getting impatient. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Like his critique, like there's a dedication to kind of some of these old tropes that even carries over to the humor. It's not the same kind of humor we've seen out of Marvel. Like, I don't know. In general, I think Marvel movies are funny.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's been, some of the jokes miss, but like in general, I think there's at least a couple lines in every movie that really land. And this series so far is just not that.
I would say maybe one reason is because Marvel humor in their movies is very snarky.
It's very self-aware too.
And there is no room for that in this current universe.
Yeah, I agree.
I think. Go ahead.
I guess like Alex has so far been very aware of the humor, right? It's not landing, and I don't know. I'm curious about you guys, what you guys' take is on this, but like having watched just a lot of TV from these eras, it feels genuine to those eras to me, and not so therefore not really out of place. I don't think it's like a laugh a minute, but I think it's genuine to the eras they're portraying. Do you guys feel like that's true?
I think I would agree with that. I think a lot of it's not that it's not funny, it's that it's so committed to accurately reflecting the era that it's representing. Like, I mean, a lot of these jokes, this is the stuff you hear in The Honeymooners and Bewitched and The Brady Bunch and things like that. So, I mean, in keeping with the tone and adhering to the formula, I think they're spot on. But, I mean, also that being said, like, if I were to go back and watch The Brady Bunch now, like, I don't know how funny I'd find some of the jokes, just because, like, not everything is timeless. A lot of the time, things are reflective of the era that created them. And I think that's why we get the style of humor that we do with WandaVision.
Yeah, I don't see that.
The stuff seems to hit best. Physical comedy doesn't really change. Like, a physical bit is a physical bit, whether you're smashing plates or whether there's a terrifying giant bird running around your house or you're trying to use magic to cook dinner. Like, there's still, like, those are going to be the same across any decade.
Yeah, that's why Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton are still funny.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's why the sequence in Evil Dead 2 with Ash beating himself up holds up, because it's just physical comedy.
Yeah, and I think I said this on the last episode. Like, you've got Dick Van Dyke, and Dick Van Dyke holds up because he's an entertainer, right? He just is funny.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
I don't know. I don't think like Alex said, his patience is starting to wear on the series, and I understand that, and I just don't know that I've I've felt that yet. Not yet. Like it definitely will happen if we don't move somewhere with it, get some sort of traction going. But I don't know. I think the general response from the audience has been about on par with what Alex is saying. It's like, okay, come on, what is it going to be? Where's it going to go?
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm really curious too, because like I know there's been a lot of discussion about the potential for this heading towards like House of M territory, but at least for me personally, I think this is the first Marvel property that like I've watched where I don't know where they're going because I'm not as familiar with the source material at this point. Like, you know, like Winter Soldier came out, like we all knew what the term was going to be for the most part. Like when Spider-Man Far From Home came out, we knew that Mysterio was going to do a villain reveal halfway through. And like, and I'm not saying that people aren't familiar with House of M, but like this is the first time that me personally, as a fan of what Marvel is doing with their films, I don't have a frame of reference for any of what's happening, which I'm fine with. Like this is actually the first time I've really gone in almost completely blind beyond knowing these characters from the previous MCU entries. So, so I'm willing to go along with the ride for that. And maybe people who are familiar with where this might be going don't feel the need to beat around the bush about it. I don't know. But I like this idea of coming into a WandaVision blind and not knowing anything beyond this is probably in her head or a dream or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that, I mean, I don't know how familiar either of you are with Tommy and Billy, who end up being born in this episode.
Not at all.
Not at all? Okay.
Yeah.
Tommy and Billy in the comics were magical constructs created by Scarlet Witch as hex powers.
Okay.
That she, you know, used part of Mephisto's essence to create them, and eventually they get absorbed back in Mephisto and kind of destroyed. And
okay.
So, I mean, these are real kids that she made. They're at least, they are real as long as Wanda is around. So they are like actual characters that are extensions of her. So it'll be interesting to see once things go into the real world, if they are still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it just, there's so many, I feel like I'm just a broken record at this point. Like we don't know if this is all Wanda just repressing things, which, I mean, if you're going to tell a story, it needs to still be entertaining. You still need, you know, the humor to land and whatnot. But for me, if we're watching Wanda kind of walk through the stages of grief and like trying to withdraw into old like television and safety and things like that, and like withdraw into the humor that she would have grown up with as a kid and stuff, like I feel like that's really heavy tones and things, and for her to like create constructs to not have to deal with grief, like we've already talked about last week, Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful characters in the MCU that we've seen. And we've not really, there's not really parameters on what her abilities are or aren't in the movies yet. And I feel like this show is definitely going to start exploring that more, because we've already started exploring that more. But like, I think there's just such a good chance that this is just a reality that she's created to get away from losing Vision.
Yeah.
And the Tommy and Billy stuff, like I've not actually even read House of M. I'm just familiar with it. But yeah, like if we're talking about like Mephisto, like that's he's kind of a bad dude. Like it would be really cool. It'd be really cool for him to be introduced into this series. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, and if it, again, it ends up tying into the next Doctor Strange movie,
Yeah.
which, he could be a part of.
Yeah. Not outside the possibility at all.
Yeah. So, and then we've also got, previous to that, Geraldine shows up, and there's this whole, we talked about the bird, but, Wanda is trying to hide her belly the whole time using all these. This is a fun thing. Like, she's using tropes of how sitcoms would hide pregnancies of the actresses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hiding behind stuff, wearing certain things, holding this at all the right times.
Yeah, using the angles. This yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but then it, it doesn't last long, and eventually she gives birth to the kids, and she's got twins, Tommy and Billy, which we mentioned, and Wanda is very introspective and seems to kind of acknowledge the real world, and says that she was a twin. She had a brother named Pietro. And then Geraldine completely oversteps the bounds and says, "Hey, he was killed by Ultron, right?" And then Wanda's like,
Mm-hmm.
Well, "What'd you say?"
Mm-hmm. And then,
this is the first time that he's been directly mentioned since Age of Ultron, right?
Ultron or Pietro?
Pietro specifically.
Pietro,
like,
yes.
I mean, she's been dealing with the loss since, and I think it's been evident in her portrayal.
Mm-hmm.
But like, this is the first time somebody's like, "Hey, remember your dead brother?"
Yeah,
like,
remember when we
MCU anything.
lingered on his dead body in Ultron?
to let you know that Quicksilver's not coming back to the MCU.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's been mentioned like at all. Even
No.
Even in Civil War, like there's a lady, Tony Stark gets like accosted by this lady about like, my son died and whatever. I don't think Tony brings up Quicksilver at all even then when they're going over like the graveyard of bodies that they've left in their wake. The MCU has very much just tried to forget about him.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to think, aside from Coulson, who doesn't count because he came back, like, what other good guy, like, major casualties have there been in the MCU up until Civil War at that point? Besides Terrence Howard.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was thinking Terrence Howard.
and Ed Norton, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't believe you took that right out from under me.
Yeah, like
no.
Even in Endgame, when she confronts Thanos, like all she does is say she just says you took everything from me, which presumably we mean she's referring to Vision and Pietro. But,
yeah,
but like
I mean, I think she's specifically like, you took the Robot Man from me.
Yeah,
I forgot.
And like
I had
we
a
assume
brother.
that maybe she still is upset about her brother getting murdered.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Scarlet Witch, Wanda is like the most tragic character in the MCU to date because she lost her parents, she lost her brother, and she lost her, her sex toy. What is he like? Her robot.
Her robot lover. Her love bomb.
Yeah. Nobody else in the MCU has dealt with that kind of loss yet.
Yeah, and the ones that have, like case in point, like Bucky, he came back.
Yeah, I mean,
And
the
then-
next one would be Black Widow is gone now.
Yeah.
But who
Then
knows?
I'm just thinking of Wonder Woman 84, where she's still, obsessing over Steve Trevor, like 60 years later.
Yeah, a guy that she knew for what, 1-2 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. First guy she ever knew, though. So I mean, that's something that leaves its mark.
I mean, Pietro would be the same to Wanda.
It's true.
I mean, if if I recall, in certain storylines in Marvel Comics, there was a bit of an incest angle between Wanda and Pietro in at least one of those storylines.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, everybody. Game of Thrones level intrigue for.
Yeah, they were like I think it was the Ultimate Marvel line, but they were essentially Jaime and Cersei Lannister for like in Ultimate Avengers.
When now that they've invoked his name, I'm fully expecting to see him show up later in this season.
Yeah,
like in something as as her construct starts to break apart or something. I'm expecting for them to bring Quicksilver back as some sort of like grounding point for her.
Yeah,
to let go. That's my prediction.
And even with Vision, the power that they gave him in this episode was super speed.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
true. Although not too fast.
Yeah.
It still took him a good 7 minutes to get there and back.
Yeah. Well, and Fox doesn't have the X-Men rights anymore, right?
No, yeah, it's Marvel now.
So yeah, we could actually get Quicksilver and not just linger over a body double that might be Quicksilver and an over-the-shoulder shot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could also just get, because comic-wise, Wanda and Quicksilver's father is Magneto.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a huge piece. I'm really still surprised that they introduced these characters without being able to introduce the parentage of them.
Same. I was like, that's like you're treating it like it's a small thing, but that's kind of a big deal who their dad is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so weird when I was watching X-Men Days of Future Past in 2014, and I'm like, these same characters are going to be in Age of Ultron next year. How does this work?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So
except Future Past, they could actually acknowledge it.
Right. So that's a thing that I don't know if we'll ever, maybe they'll just never acknowledge it. Right. The timing didn't work out. I hope they don't try to shoehorn something together that's like, oh yeah, well, her dad never died and he's Magneto. I don't know how you do that with it feeling good, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm excited to see maybe some more about her relationship with her brother, not in the Game of Thrones way, but in the what was their life like? Why, tell us more about Wanda.
Speaking of shoehorning, something I don't think we've talked about at all is, at least according to the wiki for Wanda, Geraldine is supposed to be Maria Rambeau's daughter from Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Yep.
Yeah, Monica Rambeau. Which,
That's
of course,
it.
based
Yep,
on the
that's
show,
her.
we don't know that beyond seeing her wearing the sword emblem.
No.
Because she introduces herself as Geraldine. But, I'm really curious why that detail is out there prior to it having been revealed in show. I have to imagine that was probably an information leak.
Yeah, I do not know how well they're keeping tabs and closing all the right doors to keep that kind of stuff out. But yeah, that's definitely the case.
Yeah,
I had heard that.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I got confused for a second, then I was like, oh wait, no, Captain Marvel was in the 90s. This tracks.
Yep.
But
so yeah, Geraldine, she's working for Sword. Yeah, and this whole thing, that's going on the inside, and then we got Herb, and then what's Catherine Hahn's character's name outside?
Agnes.
Agnes, yeah, talking to Vision and being like, oh, she's in there with Wanda. She's new. She doesn't have a lot of experience. She doesn't have. They list all these things, and Vision's like, so. But you can tell they're all there and they're playing their parts, trying to kind of lead Wanda in a certain direction and bring her back to reality. And to me, I'm like, oh, this whole series is Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas.
Yeah. I like that Alex made the Stepford Wives comparison regarding the scene, because that's 100% accurate. Because Herb has that moment where like he keeps like kind of stammering over the same phrase as well. And I'm really curious because like when Geraldine gets cast out by Wanda at the end, like presumably sword agents show up, but like they show up guns drawn, which makes me think she apparently violated protocol or whatever they're doing, since she's one of their own. So I'm real curious to see what more happens with her character.
Yeah, like I mean, it does seem like you're saying about like Abed's Christmas Adventure. Or what's the name of that episode?
Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas.
Uncontrollable Christmas. Yeah, like everybody kind of joining in this mutual delusion to guide the story along to get to the right result. What's weird to me is like Agnes, they're talking to Vision like he should be in on it. He should know what's happening. And if he's just kind of a construct, then what are they expecting from him?
Yeah, really, they should be kind of freaked out by him and wonder like, what is he?
Yeah. And so, I mean, once again, another scene that doesn't really tell us anything, but really tells us a lot. Yeah. I'm just waiting to see what happens next.
Yeah.
We do like the imagery for Sword has been amping up episode by episode. We're getting more and more, and this was like very clearly the locket was like, all right, that's the Sword emblem.
Yep.
So like we know definitively now Sword is involved in this. We know that there's that they seem to have some sort of control or awareness of what's happening. But that's all we know so far. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ryan, what does SWORD stand for?
Oh, I had that pulled up last week, and we didn't get to it.
All right, I've got it.
Okay.
I was asking you as I was pulling it up. It's a Sentient World Observation and Response Department.
Yeah, which is one of those that they shoehorned in to make the word that they wanted.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm curious what Sword will look like in the MCU. Yeah, that's all I've got about that so far. It's weird that they're introducing it into WandaVision. That seems like a bigger introduction than just this kind of experimental TV show.
Yeah.
Although I'm not up to date on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Maybe they've talked about it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They could.
Anybody?
None of us is going to be willing to watch enough of it to find out. I think it ended last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed. Just keeping my fingers crossed for MODOK.
In WandaVision?
But I don't think we're going to get him in this.
That'd be very...
It would be nice. I'm not counting on it at all. But I'd be completely down with it.
Yeah. We could be getting some MODOK.
I'm just saying, Marvel needs to give us some more weird characters.
Yeah. Could be getting some Squirrel Girl. I mean, when they gave us Rocket Raccoon, it was like, all right, give us everything. They've given us Howard the Duck. He just needs to be a little more, front and center.
Listen,
for my
we've had Howard the Duck for a good long time.
Yeah, but not the MCU.
I actually just read one of the newer Howard the Ducks that Chip Zdarsky did. It is part of a Squirrel Girl crossover, and I fully would support them bringing Howard the Duck in if they got him to write it.
In fact, I think that was going to be another animated show they were doing with Hulu. But I think all those animated Hulu shows are not happening anymore.
No animation. Give me live action Howard the Duck. Not CGI, dude in a duck costume, Howard the Duck. Put Warwick Davis on some stilts, whatever. Give me Howard the Duck.
Warwick Davis on stilts. What about what about Tyrion Lannister?
Oh, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. What about the Dink?
I'd be fine with that. Although
he'd be a good MODOK too.
Dinklage would be a great MODOK. I still think X-Men Apocalypse blew it by not just CGIing Peter Dinklage onto Apocalypse's body. It would not have looked any worse than Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse.
And you weren't supposed to ask questions like, wasn't this guy in the last movie?
That's when they announced him, I genuinely thought he was going to be Apocalypse, and then it came out, I was like, oh, he's just Bolivar Trask? Okay, who cares?
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Do you suppose Oscar Isaac is ever gonna get the role he deserves? He's always.
I mean, he's got Moon Knight now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
He's always dancing around these like perfect roles, right? He's Leto Atreides in Dune, but Dune is doomed to fail, right? Like it can't be what they want it to be. Moon Knight, maybe Moon Knight will be.
I mean, he was really good in Ex Machina, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, after if you look at Poe Dameron's costume in Rise of Skywalker, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, Oscar Isaac needs to be in an Uncharted movie.
Yeah. I've heard people calling for
instead
that
of
too.
casting Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Well, Uncharted's gonna happen, but for some reason they're not doing it with Nathan Fillion like they should have, based on that fan film that was circulating a few years ago.
Well, I mean, the
actual
Tom
character
is
Holland
based off
as
of
Nathan
him.
Drake.
Yeah. And then.
Oh yeah, but I mean that short was so good, and Tom Holland, I love him, but he's way too young to be playing Nathan Drake. But
see, but now he can play him for decades, Dustin.
Yeah, it's like a young Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
oh.
He's our next River Phoenix.
Yes, because they followed through on that idea.
Yeah, I mean we're so far beyond.
Yeah,
the
let's
topic,
let's wrap it up because I think those are all of our thoughts for episode 3 of WandaVision. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
No, I hope we get some plot next week because it'd be good to sink teeth into something.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So we will be going into the 80s next week, and I think it'll be really exciting. I think that's the episode in which we see them in costumes. We see the actual Scarlet Witch costume from the comics,
which they've teased here and there.
Which sitcom do we think we're getting?
Oh my, could be so many. I mean, Growing Pains. I mean, maybe even the Wonder Years. Even though the Wonder Years, it was made in the 80s, but it takes place somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Wonder Years took place in the 60s.
Yeah.
But yeah, Growing Pains.
But I associate
and Family
that
Ties
show with the
are what
80s.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was gonna say Starsky and Hutch, but that's still 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite, 80s sitcom is Golden Girls, but I do not see them going that route.
That'd be pretty good, though.
So yeah, we'll be waiting for that. And so until then, Dustin, where can people find more of your work?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at Dustin Meadows, or twitch.tv/Dustin Meadows, however they do it, and DustinMeadowsComedy.com. I am streaming on Twitch now Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. every week. So check that out so I can get that sweet affiliate status and start making you watch ads before you watch me play Earthworm Jim or whatever.
And Ryan, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Harbjagen. That's HARBJAGEN. Yeah.
All right. And you can find the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, where we stream every single week. We are also on every, podcasting platform that you can find. Please subscribe, leave reviews, and drop us an email at whowatchespodcast@gmail.com. So, with all that out of the way, until next time, everybody, piss off, you ghosts.
Every time.
Piss off, Ghost!